Now, one thing I noticed with the Roman Reigns match was his shoes. He's wearing these custom Nike shoes that everybody's talking about. They're the Kobe 9s. That's something that's different from your era of wrestling when it was the wrestling boot. It seems like it's changed over the last, I'd say 20 years. It's gradually changed, but now it's just more and more guys wearing sneakers in the ring. What do you think about that coming from, the older school where it was wrestling boots? And you've changed your boots as well over your career quite a bit.
Boots were a real big game changer about my time. Everybody except Sting had your regular wrestling lace-up boots. Everybody. I can't think of another person. If you saw a pair of tennis shoes in the ring, the person got beat up. The Steiners would find you and then beat you up in the locker room, and you'd never be back.
I believe that.
And when I see tennis shoes to this day, it really bothers me. Now, if it's a shoe and they've got it covered with the pads, like AJ got over those cool pads that CM and Seth wear. I love the pads but still,
well, it masks the sneaker, so you don't.
Yeah,
you kind of have to be in the know to know that it's a sneaker under there.
Yeah, but still, try to have some kind of cool little athletic. Even those little wrestling shoes, I think are cool, but not a tennis shoe. This isn't tennis. This is pro wrestling. That does bother me, but I do think it needs to be something cool under there still, instead of just a pair of OCs, on clouds under your thing. That's not wrestling to me. But it's happening more and more. But I'd rather see some regular lace up boot. But from the jump, having a different wrestling boot, I knew from a very young age that was going to be a game changer. The problem is my best friend was Sting, and he had the best boot. Sting's boot is a motorcycle racing boot. Now, Shawn Michaels went the, Supercross boot, and that was that kind of look. But and several guys like Road Warrior went that motocross boot.
Right.
But
the buckles on the outside.
Yeah. And Sting somehow, nobody tried to copy it, but Sting went with the racing bike, those fast racing bike. That was those speed bike racing boots was what Sting had. And they were phenomenal. They were the best boot in pro wrestling history. And there was no way to copy it. My boot that I found, and the person that gave me that idea was Scott Hall. Came up to me, and he was, me and Scott didn't actually get along great, but he always had good advice. Scott Hall was a fantastic talent. He was one of the best. He's Razor Ramon, brother. He's one of the best. And he came to me, he goes, Bagwell, he goes, you look unsymmetrical. As great as your body is, of all things, two guys I know that had small calves in the business that were super, super over. And it was Rick Rude and Scott Hall. Both had small calves. What Rick Rude did is he wore his knee pad part on his knee and part inside of his boot. So when he laced it, his symmetrically, he looked like he had calves. So here you got Buff Bagwell with shoulders and back and legs and calves, and it just, I didn't look symmetrical, but so I needed something down low, and I didn't for a long time. NWO, I was out there with those tights at the tight of the ankle, right down to the ankle, with cowboy boots on. And Scott Hall goes, man, you got to get a bigger boot. So I started looking, man, and keep in mind, up till this, I had the ones that were fitted. I tried that. I tried other leather ones, trying to look like Sting without copying him, because again, everybody knew Stings were the best. But I found my boot. My boot is actually called a Calvary boot. The Calvary wore my boot. The reason why I had a front thing on the knee was when they rode horses, that piece of leather protected the horseback guy's knee. Okay. And they were Calvary boots. So that flap in front of my knee was for the Calvary. And I got mine at like a cowboy place. and I did them all up, and nobody had them. You know, they were a very cool boot. But that's the reason I did that was because Scott Hall wanted me to be more symmetrical, and it helped me tremendously, especially when I got leaner as I did.
Mm-hmm.
It really looked like I wasn't just, you know, my legs were thin. It looked like I was more symmetrical. It really helped me tremendously. The tennis shoe thing, I'm dead against. If you could, like I said, at least try to put some kind of little cool wrestling shoe or mat wrestling boot.
Right.
Back to Roman's, coolest boot ever. And did you notice Roman's underwear?
I did notice the underwear. Yep.
Nike.
Yep.
Nike, brother.
Yep. To
Nike.
go with the shoes. Yeah.
So there's a paycheck coming there, brother.
Oh yeah.
I can promise you.
Yep.
I never noticed Nike.
The pants were just low enough so you could see it. Yep.
Just low enough. It ain't like that wasn't planned.
No, of course not. Of course not.
You know, again, his underwear's poked out a few times before when he wrestles in those jeans, and I've never seen Nike before. So
product placement.
Yeah. Very nicely done. Fantastic looking boots. I loved it. It was it seemed, I did think it seemed a little bit loud for Roman, but man, I loved them. It was great. Great time to pull them out.
Well, if he's got something going with Nike, then that makes sense to make them loud, get people's attention.
Loved it.
You know, it played nicely into everything with the bloodline, the color, just the whole theme of it. But with these sneakers, I know you're not a fan, but do you think it's do you think it's for style, or do you think it's for comfort? Are the boots comfortable? I mean, I can't imagine they're more comfortable than, you know, Nike sneakers like that. So maybe it's a combination of both.
I believe it's a combination of, I mean, think about it, brother. When you saw Buff Bagwell throwing a drop kick, I'm throwing a drop kick with 8-pound leather boots on.
Right.
I mean, that ain't easy, man. When I'm running the ropes, I'm running the ropes with 8 pounds of leather dragging through the, you know, like a pair of, like I was a catcher in a catcher game in a baseball game. Like, you know, it's like, it's really a lot of trouble. And so I can tell you for sure, older guys my age that I would see on the indies would definitely have the tennis shoes on with the cool pads. And they said it was for comfort and for, and just, you know, for moving around and for ability to move. But I do think no matter what, it needs to look a little sharper than just a pair of tennis shoes on when you're in the wrestling ring, you know?
No, I agree. And I mean, I gravitate towards that more old school retro wrestling, if you will, approach myself. I mean, that's what I grew up watching. Guys like you, guys like Hogan. Hogan had, when he went NWO, the artwork on his, with the lightning bolts and his face on the side. I mean, to me, that's the best boot. Sting's great too, but for me, it's Hollywood Hogan.
Of course, the blue and the Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yep.
Yes, I mean, I took a page right out of that with all of my stuff with Hogan.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very similar to what you were doing with the hat too. You had a lot of the same deal going.
The lightning and all that. It was really just a play right out of the playbook, and we got made fun of on that a lot. I say we. I'm not trying to put myself with Hulk, but I got made fun of a lot. You know, and again, you know, if people aren't talking, then nobody cares. But it was a little bit of jab of, oh, that airbrush stuff's old, you know. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, let's look at my tights on TV and let's look at your tights on TV.